It's a Sports Algorithms podcast for August 22nd, Tuesday. I'm your host, Ken Braverman, the creator of all these sports algorithms. We're going to go over the Monday Night Football game. We're going to talk about WNBA on Tuesday, of which there are 4 games. And I've already reviewed this, so we have a lot to talk about there. And then we're going to talk about the MLB day, which is a full day of 15 games. Also prepared this file, and we'll go over each one of those games. Well, let's start with NFL. What an exciting preseason game last night. Baltimore Ravens with a lot on the line. They had like a 20-game preseason winning streak or something crazy, something they really cared about. And Washington managed to march down the field and come back and win this game with a field goal almost at the buzzer. Amazing game. Washington definitely has some heart under new ownership. They had the representative there from the Harris Group in the booth a little bit during, I think, the end of the second quarter. You can tell a lot of smiles, a lot of baggage lifted off this team, and it showed here even in the preseason. So we got the points wrong. Of course, I said everyone take the under because I'm like, there's no way these guys are going to be playing. Yeah, they played. Like Terry McLaurin played so much that he got hurt. So, I was like, no, there's no way they're playing that kind of player that they know who's good. Oh, yeah, they played him. They played him. People cared in this game. That's what happened. Sam Howell played great. But, yeah, they played McLaurin. And I think they also played their running back. Yeah, Gibson was in there too. Like basically almost all these guys played. And Joey Sly came in with the win at the end, right? So, that's the thing. You can't predict preseason who's going to play. And I had the points wrong, but sure enough, what does the algorithm do? The algorithm was like, oh, yeah, 1-point win for the Redskins. There you go. Sorry, the Commanders. Not the football club, not the R word, the Commanders. I've been here so long, I can't get it out of my head. Now, so there you go. That's NFL. We'll talk about preseason week 3 as it starts later in the week when we have updated injury reports and cuts. So bye-bye NFL. Now let's go over to WNBA. Weren't any games last night. There is a game, more games tonight, 4 of them. What do we do with those games? Already looked this over. So let's discuss game by game if there's anything to do. And unfortunately, in the Aces dream game, where it has the Aces winning this game tremendously, they are regarded as the top team in the league. It's basically them and the New York Liberty. And they've already made the playoffs, and they probably even secured close to first place already the way they're going. I think there's like 7 or 8 games left. So in this situation, they don't need to try. And you can't trust their points anymore because they don't need to try. You don't know if they need to show up. And they have some injuries here. Makes this game impossible to make a wager on. There's no value in here anywhere because the Aces are heavily favored. They shouldn't be as favored given the status of their team and the situation. But what do? Like, they still can crush the dream. Like, there's no, you don't want to bet against the Aces here, but you also don't have a reason to bet on them. So it's a skip. And that's what the algorithm kind of shows. When the odds makers do their job correctly and appropriately price something like this, it's unbettable in almost every form. If anything, you're supposed to bet on the dream, but plus 900 in case they accidentally win because the Aces aren't trying. That you're supposed to put like $5 on that. That's kind of what you do here in this situation. And then maybe you can cash that out during the game if they're ahead. That's a possibility, but you can't stay away from the team you want. You can't play the team you want. You have to stay away here. Next, Wings and Lynx. Wings healthier. Wings coming off a game outscoring the Mystics a ton. Thinks they'll put up 88 points here. Thinks they're going to win this game. Lynx just lost the game to the Storm. Dallas playing better. Big margin here. So taking Dallas to win on a parlay or something is not a terrible line at minus 270. Thinks they'll actually cover the 6.5 anyway. But something maybe team points. The way this game's supposed to go is that Dallas is supposed to win this game. Something like Dallas having the highest scoring quarter is another probably good one. They have the offensive prowess. You can see that they're the second highest projected score out of the teams here. And we know we have issues with the Aces game. So going on Dallas pretty strong in all those things of points and winning and maybe even covering. If you have to try the even money bet, it's not going to win every time, but that's what it says, saying the 1 by 10. So there's that. Next, Storm and Sky. So Storm have this injury with, I believe it's Gabby someone. Seattle Storm are here, and Gabby Williams is out. So The Storm did manage to beat the Lynx in the last game that we had on here. Sky, not a great team either. You can see both these teams are down in the 80% range, so they're not the stronger of the teams. They're mediocre teams. Probably duking it out. Very tough to predict who wins this game. I saw you can even get the Storm for 4 points, plus 4 points now. It kind of makes sense because it's supposed to be a really close game. This is one of those games where if you're watching the game, betting both sides, because probably there will be lead changes in this game, is a way to secure some profit because you can get a positive line on both teams if you're actually going to watch that game. Tougher game to wager, with this injury here. So extremely close. It's just a difficult day, right? Connecticut Sun and Mystics. This one's more clear cut in that the Mystics have game time decision big people, but they've been in and out the last few weeks and they're clearly not healthy regardless of whether or not they're playing. They're not going to be 100%. Deladonna and Shakira Austin, big time players. So they were either out or hurting, I believe, against the Wings as well. I thought they had some in the back, but they didn't play as much or the whole game or as impactful. Something was clearly there. So that means the Sun are stronger than this 2% margin. And also thinks they'll probably outscore this, just like Dallas did against Washington a few days ago. So the Sun in points, the Sun to win this game are all things that are looking okay here, regardless of whether or not these players play. If they do play and they play pretty well, then you would lose on that. But you're kind of going with this has been sustained injuries here for a while, and yeah, I mean, it does say like the Sun score more than the Storm, even though this is a closer game down here, it has 3 more points for the Sun. So they probably get there points wise. So in summary with WNBA, really tough game, a joke to bet on Atlanta just because a little bit. Dallas strong in both points and winning the game. Toss-up game here. Don't really know what to do. So it's kind of a stay away or bet both sides if you're watching it live. And then Sun points, Sun to win. Are things that it should happen here. So that's WNBA. Let's go over to MLB. Lots of games. The MLB did okay yesterday. It lost the number 1 pick, which was Atlanta to the Mets, just like today. They have the same matchup as number 1. At a bad line, that stunk that lost yesterday. They had a lead and then blew it big time. Lost by like 6. Other games were okay. The Cubs won. Philadelphia won, which was the 4th pick, and who was the 3rd pick? Seattle crushed it. Seattle never looked back. I think they won 14-1 yesterday. So some things on top were good. As for today, you can see Atlanta has such a good record. They just blew one. It's a bad line anyway, but the algorithm still says take it at a really big margin. So there's that. Cubs again. Kansas City lost to Oakland after coming back to tie it. Seattle, you would think, is another strong pick given how good they're playing and the fact they're showing up here. Philadelphia is going up against a AAA pitcher, which I'll talk about in a second, which makes this a pretty good pick. Get Philadelphia to win. Then you have some teams that didn't play yesterday. You've got an underdog Washington over the Yankees. So let's take a look at these matchups one by one and confirm. There's a lot to talk about in terms of wagering, but let's just try to look at winners and maybe some runs, right? So let's do that. Cubs in Detroit. We said Cubs did well for us yesterday. They're number 2 pick on here. The line's not bad. So Cubs to win is a pick. Colorado and Tampa Bay. Here it's got Tampa Bay as a 10th pick, but their line is miserable. So in this sense, the algorithm is putting this game so much closer that this line is not worth it. So it's probably a stay away game. San Francisco, Philadelphia, AAA pitcher for San Francisco, whose stats are not good in AAA either. ERA of 4.66. Philadelphia to win this game at -135. Philadelphia runs as well, given that they're going up against a AAA pitcher whose ERA is not great. So Phillies runs in the first 5 innings is not a bad pick here, knowledgeably looking at what's going on this list. Toronto and Baltimore. Toronto and Baltimore. Says Toronto, it is the 12th pick of the day, though, so a rather close game at a little underdog line. Grayson Rodriguez, Baltimore, a good team, but Grayson Rodriguez's ERA is not great. So reasonable straight bet because of that 105, but close game way down here on the margin list, so it's not a sure pick for a big thing like a round robin or parlay. Washington over the Yankees, 8th pick of the day, 9% margin. Josiah Gray because they're going up against Carlos Rodon. So it says Washington gets to Rodon early, most likely, if he's really starting there. And that they can hit them, and Josiah Gray will try to be better, and that they can win this game at this plus 160. So you're looking at where that appears on the list here is right here. It's close to a 10% margin. You can't say no to an underdog in some form that's this high up here. So you tentatively have to say yes, or Washington plus 1.5. It's going to have a really good line as well. But it's really that Washington supposedly puts up runs on Rodon, which is why they win that game. So Washington runs in the first 5 is if you're going specifically off the disparity in stats here in the sheet, that's where you isolate that pick, in my opinion. St. Louis and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's supposed to put up a ton of runs against Adam Wainwright's 8.42 ERA. They did it last night, putting up, I believe, 11 runs. Check the weather, but Pittsburgh runs are showing up on here, and Pittsburgh to win, once again, not a terrible line. Both of those things. Dodgers and Cleveland. It has the Dodgers winning 6th pick of the day, 13% margin, but the line's minus 200. Noah Syndergaard, 7.16 ERA for Cleveland. I know he bounced around, or was he at LA? And then, wow, 1-4. Wowie, wow. So here's another situation. Notice over-under set at what, 8.5 or 9. Really thinks that the Dodgers will get to Syndergaard early. So it's another one for like first 5 inning runs for the Dodgers. Interesting there. Mets in Atlanta, once again, course likes Atlanta. Here you're going up against McGill, and it's Bryce Elder who's done better things. So that's what's warranting this 225 line. Says Atlanta puts up runs and hits more than the 4 runs they put up last night. So again, a huge over-under. Must be a hot day in Atlanta at the over-under is 10.5. Makes the game, once again, very difficult to wager on. And it's tough to play, but supposedly Atlanta does win this game. So do you go back to the well and put Atlanta on the round robin? I mean, algorithm says yes. Big margin there. Milwaukee and Minnesota. Close game. Lower scoring close game. But very, very close, tough to call for anything really specific. Seattle and the White Sox, number 4 pick of the day is Seattle. This game, they only win by less than a run, though. And that's because Brian Wu is 1-3, and Mike Clevenger pitches well. So it's, of course, wanting to push Seattle, who's hitting better, and their bullpen's better, their lineup factor's better. But in this pitching matchup, this is one where maybe Seattle has to come back. So think about it that way. That could happen in this game. So think about game flow when you see this. Seattle is still the pick to win, but plan on it being more of a rockier road and maybe not as many runs as you would have thought. That's what the game flow is saying. Boston and Houston. This time it has Houston instead of Boston. I had Boston yesterday, an underdog line. Doesn't do that today with Verlander going against Tanner Houck. Line is only minus 140. Seen lines in games like this with Verlander going that could be worse. So very close, but that's consistent all across. You can see they're better in every category except for BABIP than Boston, and Boston hits at Fenway a lot, so they've had some hitting stats. It's like the Colorado of the East. So Houston probably wins this game on there. So Houston probably to win. Cincinnati and the Angels. It has the Angels with Giolito, who's now an Angel. Interesting. He left the White Sox, I guess. And he pitches well. Graham Ashcraft pitches okay as well. And Cincinnati is no team to scoff at this year, right? Has this as 10% margin for the Angels? Wow. I don't see this as strong as a pick as Houston. The Houston line's even a little better. But the Angels are not making the playoffs this year, right? And Cincinnati has a chance. I think that plays into this game, and it's tougher to read. It's down here as a 7th pick. I mean, never listen to me, always listen to the algorithm. There's always that, but I'm going to stay away from that. Kansas City and Oakland. Here it wants us to go back to the well with Kansas City because Hogan Harris's big fat 6.98 ERA is sticking out there. Against Greinke is 1-12. Wow. That's the most surprising stat I've seen on this list today. Zach Greinke is 1-12. Yikes. So runs in this game, only 8.5 over under. So you see this and you just think, okay, you know, if you could put the Little League World Series kids out there, they're going to hit better and put some runs up. Well, I shouldn't talk too much trash. As soon as I start talking trash about a pick, watch the game will be 1-0. But the algorithm says no, the algorithm says 11.3 runs. Even it's in alternate over under territory is what it's saying to go with to try to get a good line on that game. Miami and San Diego. Here it has San Diego with a very, very good pitching, Blake Snell. But Jesus Luzardo is also, he's no es mal. Puede throw la pelota. El pelota, I think it is. Yeah, he can throw the ball. So this is you see, extremely close game. Doesn't warrant the -178, even though, of course, San Diego wins it yesterday 6-2. But it says too close. So that line's too bad for as close as this is. And Texas blows one to Arizona last night. And today it's a better pitching matchup and has a lower scoring game that Arizona barely wins with Zach Gallen in there. So once again, too close to call. So in summary, when you're looking at this list here, Atlanta's supposed to win. And I know it sucks because they lost yesterday and you're staring at the same thing, but algorithm says yes. Cubs are supposed to win. There's supposed to be a ton of runs in this game. Seattle's supposed to come back and win, but the starting matchup is a little suspect. Philadelphia's supposed to win and hit early on a AAA pitcher from San Francisco. The Dodgers are supposed to hit early on the Cleveland pitcher who has a bad ERA. This game's too tough to call, in my opinion. Washington is the underdog pick that's sticking out as a sore thumb and saying, go for it. So we're going to go for that. They're away in New York, but it says go for that. Pittsburgh, and this game is supposed to have runs, and Pittsburgh may put up runs. This game was close, and we thought that line was ridiculous, so stay away from it. Houston is supposed to beat Boston. This game's too close, low scoring, too close. All down here. All right. So that's the sports algorithm summary for Tuesday here. We'll keep track of stuff while this goes. It'll be nice not to do baseball. I'd much rather hang out with football, and college basketball is the other one that's just amazing. And there's tons of games to go over. So there are more in hockey because I'm a hockey fan. So I like to follow hockey, but baseball, you know, when there's nothing else going on, I will do it because you can see there's certainly opportunity, but we'd rather be focusing on football, which ended up as an 8-6-2 week because of these ties. So we'll see how preseason week 3 goes. This is current, but not as current as I want it to be. Real quick, ending on more football. I mean, yeah, you don't know anything because it's preseason. Oh yeah, that's right. You don't know anything because you don't know who's playing. But this is what it would be like if all the players were playing the way it looks right now. All right. So good luck, everyone. Mail your picks. Be winning.